Good afternoon. I'm Alice Rohde.
And I'm Julia Horan, and we're students at Hanover High School.
And today we'll be interviewing presidential hopeful, Mr. William Murphy.
Thank you.
So our first question for you, we were wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your job.
My job. I am a part-time social studies teacher at Hanover High School. This semester I will be teaching one 9th grade and one 10th grade class. I came to Hanover High School in 1961, and since that time I probably have taught just about every social studies class offering that we've had.
Do you think that that role as an educator has helped you prepare for being a hopeful president?
Absolutely. I think that throughout my career I've been talking about history and government, and so yeah, I think I know pretty well what the operation of the government is, and although I have not been practically involved in the political side of it, yeah.
What's a philosophy that you have with your students that you believe will apply to your campaign?
Interesting that you should say that. It's just today. Today is the first day of the semester, and I asked both of my classes to stand up and to give the pledge. And I wrote a pledge during the summertime thinking that there should be something that the students stand up for. And so I asked them to stand, and it's on the board. We stand for Hanover High School, and we pledge to be courteous to others, to be honest, to respect the environment, and to strive to learn and grow in a healthy manner each day. They edited it while having fun. I think it's important that they stand for something. And so I said today, do you know somebody who is taking a rather giant step to stand for something? Took a little coaxing, but, oh, Mr. Murphy. So I think that it's important that I demonstrate to my students that if I think it's important enough, I'll go down to Manchester. $1,000 to register is a lot of money. It's, well, for a teacher it is. For Bloomberg or Stein or some of these others, no, they can handle it. But it's a sacrifice, and it's a sacrifice because I think the issue is that important, and that's what I hope to get across. And I'm happy to have you guys here because you must think it's important enough to come and talk with me. So that's part of it.
How do you feel that your background has prepared you for running for president?
I'm not sure. My background has prepared me for running for president by knowing how it happens. I can tell you the step. I have the 8 steps in running for president. You maneuver. You go to the caucuses and the primaries. You go to the public vote, then there's the electoral vote, and then there's the electoral count, and then there's the opening of the votes and the inauguration. I can tell you all of those things as to how it is supposed to work. I am very pleased to be able to say I've had students who have been very successful in running for political office, commenting on how to run for political office, or actually being the managers behind those political offices. So I think I know how to do it. But am I doing a very good job? I don't know.
We're here.
Somebody, are you running for president? I don't know whether you see me running down the road or not. But I am sort of stumbling in that way, and there's a story about a fellow that maybe some people locally remember, a guy by the name of Herb Ogden who lived in Heartland. And he was an old conservative, some might say curmudgeon. And what he would do each year, he would take his fee up to the Montpelier to register to run for the state legislature. And that was it. And he said, I stand for office. If the people want me, they'll vote for me. If they don't want me, they won't. Well, I went, gave him the money, and I'm standing for the office of president. If you like what I have to say, I hope you'll vote for me.
So as you know, I'm sure you're aware, the Republican Party has changed tremendously over the past couple decades, especially with the recent president in office and his administration. So considering this, as well as many of your current policy positions, why did you decide to run as a Republican?
That's an interesting story. I grew up in a family of Republicans. So it was commonly expected to be that I would be a Republican. When I came to the Upper Valley in '61, Hanover, and to a large extent the Upper Valley, was Republican. So if you were talking about Hanover at that time, it was the representatives were all Republicans. And this was a time of Dave Bradley, who would be what I consider a moderate Republican, and the governor at the time was a moderate Republican. So I never bothered to change my registration. Probably it might have been an idea to go the independent route, but I hadn't changed it. So now I'm going to run for president. Do I want to run as a Democrat or as a Republican? And I say that it's Trump that I have my concerns with. Trump represents all that I teach against. As a character counts. Character counts. And I think that we do civic virtues in the 9th grade, and if we start ticking off or look at the posters around the halls in the school, he's not honest, he is a bully, he is a philanderer, he is a person to upset every friend we have. So by being a Republican, I get first shot at him. And I'm not worrying about the Democrats. So that's the motivation behind running. The party has changed. Trump changed it. So don't tell me that there is a straight party line for Republican. I hope Republican would be what I have on the platform.
Yeah. So going off of that, what values do you think still define the Republican Party that makes you want to be a part of that?
Now, I'll tell you what values motivate me, and that's what I would like to see. There was a David Brooks talking about, and I wish I could quote him directly, but he was saying that there is a humane conservatism, that you want to think in terms of helping people. That's not to say that what you have to do is have a bigger government. That's not to say that you have to interfere in people's daily lives, but you have to have a compassion for the people. And that's what I hope I would be saying in my campaign.
So considering that you've been involved in politics for most of your life, why did you decide that now was the right time to begin your campaign?
I probably should have been running if I had had the nerve before. I should have probably been running 50 years ago. I woke up one morning, and the best time for reflection is that 4:30, 5:30, whatever it is, and you can't get back to sleep. And I see so much of what the current president is doing, which is a bad representation to our kids. I deal with kids every day, and I can't turn to them and say, this is my model that I want you to hold up. You turn on the news, and there's something upsetting, and people shouting at each other. I said, not only am I unhappy, but I even think that that's affecting my physical health. And so I said, well, why don't I run for president of the United States? And so I got up, and I'd been telling kids and anybody I bump into, I'm running for president. Then came the time when you had to do it. And are you serious, Mr. Murphy, or are you not? And so I went down and did it, and I'm running for president of the United States.
So Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, among some other presidential candidates, are getting a lot of criticism for their advanced age. So how would you respond to the idea that age might be a factor?
It's a matter of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. I don't know where you're getting the idea of age. I'm 23 years old.
Yeah. My bad.
When I started teaching, kids were 16, 17, 18. And how old are you right now?
I'm 17.
I'm 16.
I must still be 23 then. We'll see. The people running for president at the present time of advanced age, they seem to be doing fine. Bernie has a heart attack in the next week or two. He's back out on the campaign trail. It is not so much a factor these days about the age. And I think with the age also comes a little bit more wisdom and reflection. So I hope that it doesn't matter. I think that if you were in my class, I don't know that you would be referring to me as an old man.
So we wanted to sort of touch on a few key debates that have been surrounding the presidential campaign. Firstly, climate change we think is important to discuss. So what actions do you think that you'll take to lower emissions as president?
Well, I want to take a step back for a moment and look at my big picture. And my big picture is I'm not going to do anything about it. Exaggeration. But too much of what is happening today is these people are out there campaigning, and they're going to say they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do the other thing, and they can't. They can't do it because it requires Congress to provide enabling legislation. And so therefore, my job is to make sure that Congress does their work. And I am not going to continue in the direction that we see in politics today, in the presidency today, of moving towards an imperial presidency. Obama comes in and changes outlook on immigration. Trump doesn't like it, he changes things up. There was an interesting piece on the radio this morning, yesterday morning, that says that President Trump could eliminate student debt tomorrow. Evidently, there is in the law that says the Secretary of Education can tomorrow say the student debt is gone. That scares the daylights out of me. It scares the daylights out of me because I think that what voters out there are doing, they're saying, oh, please help me. I don't care how you do it, just help me, help me, help me. And they're giving over their responsibilities as citizens to be well informed and to see what is going on in Washington. So when I am elected president, I will not come in. Let me say another part along this line. I'm not going to veto. What happens is you elect the president, and you have to get 60, 67% in order to pass anything because the president is threatening to veto. I'm saying you elected the people to Congress because you believed. I'm saying to Congress, do your job, and I'm not going to up the ante as to what a majority is. And I think that by doing that, we can move things along. There are 4 things that a president can do. The president can sign it. Let's all stand behind me and I'll sign the bill. Maybe not quite so pronounced, but I can reach under here, get my veto, and put that there. If I have a bill that I don't like, I don't have to sign it. So if I don't like that bill, I'm not going to sign it. And if Congress stays in session for a fixed amount of days, it becomes a law without my signature. If they adjourn, why then it becomes pocket vetoed. But I am not threatening vetoes unless there is something extremely out of whack. So to come back around to your environmental thing, I don't care whether it is human directed or whether it is a natural cycle. We are getting warmer. Let's forget the argument. We're getting warmer. Now, what do we do to deal with that? Yes, I think that we ought to be taking alternative energy sources. We ought to be looking at all sorts of ways that we can. The amount of stuff that we throw away, wow! Let's get away from that, and let's start focusing in on how we can make the environment a little bit better. I've got or will have an administration that will be coming up with ideas, but it's Congress that's got to do it. You may ask me eventually about the health care plan. Bernie's got a good idea. Elizabeth has got a good idea. They're both senators. Sit down in the Senate and work out your differences and come up with a plan that people can expect. That's where the debate should. And my job is to watch them to make sure that they do that sort of stuff.
So moving on to the refugee crisis, what do you think about the Trump administration's treatment of those immigrating to the United States illegally at the U.S. border?
Well, does anybody around here think we're treating them nicely? The thing that we're not emphasizing, and the thing that I would emphasize, is that there is an immigration, a push-pull factor, that we pull them to the United States because we are the land of opportunity. They get pushed out of their country because of bad living conditions. It's bad. Instead of worrying about borders, we should be going back down to the countries from whence they come. The same thing in Europe and in Africa. I don't think people want to leave their home. If this is a place that I grew up in, I'd sort of like to live there. We need, instead of building walls, no walls, bridges. Instead of building walls, if we use that money to help make the conditions better in the country from whence they come, I think everybody would be happier. I think also, well, I don't know whether we want to talk about at some point the UN and the internationalism and this sort of thing. All of our problems today, Trump is wrong. It is not America first. All of our problems today deal with the world. If you want to solve global warming, the United States taking this stance, that's not going to do it. We got to work together. You want to talk about immigration? We got to work together to work these things out. You want to talk about trade? We can't simply put up walls or refuse to trade. We have got to work together, and I think that that's what we need to do. That's why one of the key things, I say push in a direction. You want specific examples? I'll give you specific examples. But I'm listening to you. My job as a teacher is to listen to you, to answer your questions as best I can, and to listen to you. I want a emphasis upon problem solving, mediation, communication, so that one of the specifics I propose is, we all know West Point, Annapolis, Air Force Academy, Coast Guard Academy, but where is the Peace Academy? And I think that we ought to have an emphasis, some resources spent on training our best people to be able to go out to the countries that are having difficulties, to go to places where there's war, and to try to get the people to sit down and talk with each other.
So as an educator yourself, I'm sure you have many opinions about the cost of education and rising tuition prices for college students. Do you have any sort of ideas around that topic?
Sure. I have said, let me, this is the danger. When I go like that says I'm going off on a tangent, and if I had a campaign manager, he'd say, stay on point. But when I went to college, at Wesleyan University, one of the little three, which is not a, it cost me $1,000.
Wow.
I could go to work in a steel fabricating plant and earn $1,000. I could pay during summer for what it was costing me to go to a quality school. Now, do you have a prayer of doing that today? No, you do not. So I say what they're doing is they're tying a ball and chain on our most precious resource. You folks are our most precious resource. And therefore, I would advocate for public education to your level of competency. So if you want to be a doctor, and you got the grades, and you got the recommendations, the state will keep paying for you. You want to be a teacher? There he goes again. Who wants to be a teacher if you've got $50,000, $100,000 in debt?
Yeah.
What happens to the social workers? They can't. When I started teaching at Hanover High School, the Ivy League was very well represented in the hires of Ivy League, with the cost that they have, can afford to become a teacher these days. My response is that if you, and I don't have to do this, but if you work, if you get the free education, you owe me 1 year for every 2 years of free education you get. And I want to see you out in the helping people, whether it's in a VISTA or whether it's in a Peace Corps type thing, or the military. You want to serve the time in the military, you can do that.
So, as a kind of wrapping up question, one of your sayings, as you said earlier, is character counts.
Yes.
So, what does character mean to you, and why is this important in your campaign?
I'm a character. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I think it is so important to have as our leader somebody who represents the best qualities of a person, a human being can be. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I believe in the, they may be waving us. I think that what they ought to do is they ought to have all of the faith leaders. Where is Trump at the moment? Trump at the moment is meeting with all the economic leaders of the world. How many times have the faith leaders gotten together? Let's get together and talk about what a good person is. Because I think they're going to end up with something like the Golden Rule. And then I'm going to say, go back to your people and let's work on that in the same way that you work on building a better widget, in the same way that you work on doing your energy or what happens to be. So it is my job to be able to represent, I hope, what is the best in our society, so that when when one of my students looks at me, when somebody in town looks at me, they'll say, pretty nice guy. Yeah.
As we finish up, do you have any last few words that you want to say to your supporters who are watching?
Vote early, vote often. No, I didn't say that. I think that the keys are the business of the, I don't want to be an imperial president.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to be somebody who promotes positive values, so it's okay to watch the news without getting a headache. That is somebody who can go out and talk to the people and inspire them, I hope. And it is somebody who would be working with Congress so that we can work together and get the job done for the people in our country and in the world, because it's a small world. We're one worldwide.
So, should we wrap up?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you. We wish you luck on your campaign.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I am, if you are an independent, ask for the Republican ballot, and I am there.
All right.
If you are a Republican who doesn't particularly like what's going on with President Trump, I'm your alternative.
All right.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.